It ain't about how hard you're hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving.
And we need a name for this.
What a great intro to Creation Wars 12. Welcome everybody. Today I'm joined in backup by Stuart Davidson, who's just turned up at the last minute. I don't know how you managed to get away with that, Stu.
I know, it's terrible.
But anyway, it's good that you're here. Tiff is also in the background. She'll be working the internet. So if you guys are on Twitter, please use the hashtag CreationWars12. We'll all be watching as much of that as possible. Today on the show as masters, we have Gina. Hello, Gina.
Hello, Ollie. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for representing again. It's wonderful to have you on. Laurie Rubin, we haven't seen for a few shows. Hello, Laurie. How are you?
Hello. Doing great. Thank you.
It's awesome to have you on. We have Trace. Trace, welcome back for probably your third, is it, Trace?
It's my third attempt, yeah. Thank you, Captain.
Yeah, excellent. And we have a very special guest this week coming in as judge number 4, me. Yes. Ollie Dale is the 4th judge this week, partly due to the fact that we haven't been able to get any other judges, but also partly because my little cohort's been missing out recently because I've been hosting and not able to actually take part. So Stuart will be taking the judges' scores at the end of the show, so there'll be no issues about whether or not I've manipulated anything to win my second, yes, Creation Wars. But a nice little tight group today, so let's get straight into it. We're going to go alphabetical. So we have Gina, Laurie, Trace, and Ollie. So that would be Gina, Laurie, Ollie, and Trace in that order. So literally, we're just going to kick straight into it. If I do disappear, everyone, I'm very sorry. I have clients in the other room waiting for me, so I'll put myself on mute. But Gina, why don't you talk about your apprentice and show us the image that you're going to be putting forward today in Creation Wars.
Okay, great. I'm going to do a quick screen share here of Heath Smith. He is my apprentice, and he is living in Tokyo. He is U.S. military, and I'm trying to do my screen share. It's just very slow, my internet connection right now. So hopefully I'll be able to grab that. Here we go. Come on, screen share. Anyways, let's see. Heath is, like I said, U.S. military. He's been doing a lot of street photography and travel photography, and he is also doing a workshop for how to shoot, takes people around Tokyo and shows them the great places to shoot. So that's kind of what he's doing there. Still working on my screen share, guys. Sorry about that. Not sure why it's not giving me the go-ahead. So we might just have to pull up his image. So I'm going to ask Stuart again to do that for me since I'm having that trouble. And let me know when it's good to go, Stu, and I'll start presenting it.
Yep, I think everyone should be able to see it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see
Okay,
that.
great. So Heath generally has done a lot of HDR work, and he really has developed a passion for street photography and does some great stuff in Tokyo. And this last week he brought me in this image, and I just really fell in love with it. It's actually his wife, and they were out, and he happened to turn around and catch her on the stairwell to this bookstore that they were in, and I just really loved the capture. There's so many things about it that I love. I love the leading lines in the photo, and I love her positioning's perfect. It's clean that we see what she does, and I also love the characters that are here in the background. So I just thought it was a great example of a quick capture. This wasn't anything staged. And I think Heath has a great eye for being able to quickly capture images, which is something you really need to be able to do when you're doing street photography, and just seeing something and be able to grasp it. So, and I also love the contrast. The black and white, I think, suits it really well, and I just find it very appealing, and the longer I looked at it, the more fun little gems I found in the photo. So that's what I'm presenting for you guys tonight.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Gina. Laurie, why don't you give us your feedback?
Okay. This is wonderful. I mean, it's a beautiful black and white image. I'm going to switch over. What happened to her image? Stuart, can you pull that back up?
Yeah, will do. Sorry, it's in the chat as well.
Oh, okay, I see. Got it. So I'll take a look at it up here. In fact, I'm glad that I did because I can actually see more of the detail in the shadows. What's really intriguing about this is kind of whimsical, but it's kind of dark. It's mysterious. It's got kind of that storytelling element that I love in images. So really nice, kind of leading you up into this characters and her sitting there with her cup of coffee, taking a picture of it. So there's that kind of interesting interaction. And then if you look even further, you see some of the little characters, painted or drawn on the walls. And I like the, the 3 lights too. That number 3. You got the 3 lights. You've got the 3 images sitting next to her. So I think it's a really interesting composition. And what I like about it, it's really different. I've never seen this particular image before. So I like that. But I think it's great. Really nice. Nicely done.
Very good. Thank you, Laurie. I'll go next. I think you nailed it, Laurie. Those leading lines really pull you in. What I got when I first saw the image and what I keep getting is that little interaction between the wife sitting on the stairs and then that little character sort of almost waving. That to me just creates this magical world that she's in, and we can kind of imagine that all of those characters are actually alive, especially the eyes holding hands on the wall itself. Just a cool little moment. I love it. You've nailed it with the three lamps. That's really special. If there was one there, it would just be quite boring. But the 3, they're almost characters of their own in this whole scene. So yeah, I'm loving it as a street image, and I love that it's black and white because that really lets me see that magical world rather than get distracted by any color. So well done. Over to you, Trace.
Okay. I love the image overall. I was kind of playing with the zoom a little bit on the high res to sort of see if I'd like it maybe cropped a little bit tighter, which I think I kind of would like it just a little bit tighter composition. It reminds me of some images that I have seen in street photography where people are out and about and they're on their mobile phones and they're sort of oblivious to some of what's going on around them. So when I look at this, I'm partly kind of wondering what it is that she's doing. Maybe she's on Facebook or something. Maybe she just captured a picture of the wall. Maybe her child had done this drawing and she was just sharing it with people on Facebook. So there's a lot of interesting possibilities with what this story is. You could go in a lot of directions with your imagination and the story. I do like that it's black and white also, but I am curious to see the color. That's just my nature. I'd like to sort of see which one I might like better, or maybe even some sort of processing in color would hold my interest in it, although I'm a big lover of black and white. All the leading lines are great. There's so many of them. That dark railing that goes all up around, crosses her head, and goes off behind is really cool. I love the light that comes from behind her on the wall. There's something about, it's like there's a underlight to the railing that's going on that is just it's really, really beautifully lit. And it's a really nice image. I like it.
All right, thank you, judges. Great critiquing, and well done, Gina. It's a great image. Laurie, why don't you get your image ready?
Okay, so let me get this ready here. So my pick is Jenny Lauren, as I'm setting this up now, and she really caught my eye when I was going through and picking Apprentices. She's got a real nice eye for animals. So my cohort is all about wildlife and nature. And so I'm going to show you here. Let me go ahead and see if I can switch over in a second. Okay. Interesting. I may have to put it on the other screen. Hold on. It's interesting. I worked for Google. So, and I told them before I go, you guys can make it easier when you switch stuff back and forth, because it's always an issue. Okay, so let's see if I can go ahead and get this. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share. You tell me if you folks can see this. Should be a cat up on the screen.
You see it?
Yeah, that's
okay.
it.
Great. Okay, so this is one of her earlier images, and what really intrigues me is she's got this beautiful way of creating gorgeous tonality throughout her images. There are no blown highlights, and the dark areas are there on purpose. So this particular cat, if you look at the eyes, there's actually 2 different colors, the beautiful texture of the fur, and she even has a pattern in the background. This isn't my choice, but I'm going to show you a little bit of why I picked her as my champion. Jenny's awesome. By the way, she's really into capturing moments with animals. That is her thing. And it all started in 2015 or 13 when she went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And so she's been really passionate about photographing animals. And if she's not in the wild, she goes to the local zoos or wild animal parks to take pictures of these animals. Okay, so let me go ahead and switch over to the next one. This one I just put up there because, again, you know, she's into these cats, and I kind of like the lines and that look that this cat's giving you. She has this really great connection with animals, and you can tell that with people that are photographing animals. They have a lot of patience, and they get that nice eye-to-eye connection. And one more, a bear. She's been to Alaska a couple times, and I mean, this bear's looking straight at her. So I've been to Alaska too, and these are the moments you think, okay, I'm going to stay firm, and I'm not going to move. So, but great eye contact there. What is particularly special about Jenny is her interaction and connection with gorillas and the monkeys. This is chimpanzees, a little baby. I love that eye. This one I almost picked as my champion, you know, image that I was going to present, but I have another one for you. But I wanted to show you that this is just extraordinary. I just love that the eye and the connection between the mom and the baby. She does different things. This is kind of panning, so you get that nice action. You know, mom running with the baby. Something's happening. We don't know what, but it's kind of intriguing. Then we got the nice, you know, interaction between the two. So you can tell she spends a lot of time trying to get those particular moments. This is a sweet moment between these two. This one's a really nice kind of close-up of Joanne at the safari park. Okay, now I'm going to show you the one that I want everybody to vote for because I think she so deserves it. This girl's just awesome. This is actually at the safari park, and this is in San Diego. This is a baby Joanne with her mom. And the reason why I picked this is because I photograph there a lot, and I know how difficult it is to photograph this particular spot that she chose. The gorillas like to go into, it's kind of a cutout of a tree trunk, and there's bright light, and then it's really dark. And she absolutely nailed it as far as getting the nice tones. She's got the beautiful detail on the face and the fur, and little Joanne, the light is just absolutely gorgeous. I think she did a fabulous job. And this is a really kind of introspective moment. Usually Joanne is walking off and getting into trouble, but mom, you know, is always after her, and this is just a nice quiet moment. So personally, I know what it took to take this image, and I just really commend her for just getting a gorgeous, gorgeous result out of this particular one. So this is my choice. For
awesome,
Jenny.
thank you, Laurie. Hey, just before we go, can you push the expand arrow in the top right of that window just to see if it gets bigger on your screen?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
There we go.
Sorry, guys.
That's good. That's for the people at home because we have our own high-res versions, but I think everyone else wants to see. Okay. So, okay, Gina, what are your thoughts?
Wow, it's a really stunning image, and it's funny because I was looking at one of my Apprentices photos tonight to bring in, which was also a primate image. But this is, and his was beautiful too. But this is astounding, and the capture with the lighting is just incredible. I mean, I can only imagine, you know, what it's like in that cave, and yeah, to get that exposure, like you said, she really did nail it. Especially in the background, the textures of the wall and the color are so beautiful, and they're so complementary to the primate himself. I mean, the browns match, complementing that bit of the brown hair, and the head of the mama is really beautiful, and the level of detail in the faces is amazing, and then seeing it fall off so nicely, you know, into the shadows. I like it quite a bit. And of course, what's so appealing to me, and probably a lot of people with primates, is their likeness to us, and really seeing in their faces and their eyes and the baby is just really sweet. Again, I love the colors of the ground. The browns and the grays together, and the blacks are just really wonderful. And then just that hint of green with the lettuce leaves and the food is really nice. So just those three colors is really beautiful. And it's interesting, I'm looking at it on two completely different screens here, and there's totally different tones from what we're sharing to the audience and to the high-res photo. It's got quite a bit of a green tint to it in what we're broadcasting, and the high-res image is really astounding. It's really hard to see anything that's wrong with this photo at all. I can't even. I like the. Some people might say, "Oh, crop it a little tighter," because of the black borders all the way around. But I like it. I like knowing that they're in this deep little safe cave, and they're just getting that shaft of light on them. So it's a great photo. Really well done.
Great 30 seconds there, Gina. That was excellent. So I'll go next. I think you know that to me the green is the bit that sells it to me. I love the expressions and I love the moment, and the lighting is sublime, but that green color just nudges that image into the next sort of level, because without that green to offset all the sort of bland earthy tones around it, and you can see that they're in the middle of eating, and you wonder what's going through their heads, and they're looking out from their cave. It's just everything you said, you know. It's a great portrait. The lighting, I mean, if you could set these guys up in a studio, you couldn't get better lighting. So, you know, the fact that you've managed to capture this out there in a cave with sunlight is just great. Well done. Trace, up to you. You're on mute, buddy.
Sorry about that. Okay, my first thought when this came up was, OMG. This is an awesome image. It's beautiful, beautifully composed, beautifully lit. Saturation, everything is excellent on this. There are two negatives I see for me. And looking at the high-res version of this, one is I would like to see, and again, under the conditions, it's probably not possible, but I would like to have seen some little bit of separation between the mama gorilla's top of the head into where it falls off into the background. Just a little bit of something to give a little bit of separation definition to the top and back of her head. I would have liked. And the other thing is, and tell me if anybody else sees this, but on the high-res version, I'm seeing a lot of color noise in the shadow areas, especially like on the right-hand side. There's a lot of like red color noise in there that I'm seeing.
I'm not noticing it.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
Okay. All right. Could be me. So if it's not there, nobody else sees it, then don't worry about that. That's the only other thing that I would see that would be a negative to this. Other than that, the expression, their activity, there's an interaction between the two, even though they're both looking off in the same direction. And the thing I do love about this also is they are in no way looking at the photographer. They are occupied by something totally else, and this is a captured moment that is exquisite. So I think it's a very, very good choice.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well done. Thank you, Laurie.
Thanks.
I'll go into my share today. Now, if anyone was watching last week when we had the gathering, you will have seen an apprentice in there by the name of Redbeard. Ray is in my cohort, and he actually shared these images that I'll share with you now while he was talking about himself. And so we kind of have already met Ray a little bit. What I've loved about Ray is he had a dramatic point turning, probably about the level 4, level 5 area, and then his level 6, which was a custom challenge that I built, was an amazing level for Ray as well. So the change in Ray's photography from the last 10 levels has been incredible. He's just today leveled up to level 11, so well done. So I just thought I'd talk about these images that Ray shared with us last week on the gathering, just as examples of some of the stuff he's done. But I'm really proud of who Ray has become in his photography. And when I did his level 9 critique, I had threatened to take one of his images into the creation walls next time I got the chance. And so here that is. this one here off the beach. So the reason I wanted to share this in Creation Wars was because it's a complete abstract. It's obviously a factual capture that he's got of the environment, but he's done it in such a way that you could actually just lose yourself in looking at the image and trying to understand its appeal and see where all the light is going. Just that sort of starscape that he's left on the sand, combined with that sort of brushstroke texture of the sand in the background, and then this real little slither of bubbles on the right-hand side. And when I judged this image, I gave him a 3 in his critique, and I was blown away at the power of such a simple idea, and yet he's done it in such a way that comes across so powerfully. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys think of this one.
Great. Can we get the high res too?
Sending it through now. There
You're
you
fired.
go. I know, terrible.
You.
Too many windows.
Okay, mine's coming up slowly but surely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. Yeah, it's pretty cool image there, Ollie. Abstracts are always so hard to critique, I find, because how can you say something's wrong or right about an abstract when it's somebody's personal view? It's for me they're very challenging. I'll tell you what I do like. I love the texture in the blacks is just as good as the texture in the whites and the details, and that's pretty amazing to be able to have a photo that can have such a huge dynamic range and have such detail. I like the differences between the flatness of all the sand and the shimmering of this, and then we start to see a little bit of a dimension with the foam that's coming on the right, and that brings the realism into it. So it's an abstract photo, and then all of a sudden it's got some realism here because we're seeing some shadows down on the surf that creates that three-dimensional kind of feeling to it. So that's really cool. As far as the lines, the line of the sun reflection coming from here all the way up from the bottom left to the top there is really cool, and it kind of repeats itself in the surf in one way. It's an interesting piece. I really couldn't say, oh, you should crop this or we should darken this or lighten that. There's nothing that I can say in that way about it. So it is something that you can get lost in and just kind of stare at for a while, and I think it would make a really interesting large format print, on possibly something metallic and shimmering that would be fun. So really nice.
Great.
Thank you, Gina. Laurie.
Great. So when I first looked at this, it was like, oh, is this the stars, a universe? And like Gina said, it's difficult to critique an abstract, but what I really love about this is there isn't a starfish, there isn't a shell, there isn't any tangible thing that most people would look for and take a photo of. This is, a streak of light from the sun glimmering in the sand with all these little, sand stars, I'd like to call them, and then that nice texture of the foam. So I think this is really a fantastic abstract, a good choice for this. I love the sea bubbles, the texture. So you've got just beautiful textures throughout this image and the gorgeous light. So I think this is just a moment in time. Maybe I'd even title it something like that, because it almost feels like you're taken into a different world, and then, like Gina said, you're brought back into reality with this the sea foam on the right-hand side. So I love how that streak of light hits the bottom left-hand corner, brings your eye up. You're kind of teased to look over to the right. So I think this is overall really, really nice image. Well done.
Thank you, Laurie. Trace.
Okay. As many people know, I'm a sea lover. It's my happy place and where I go to and where I do a lot of my work at now. A couple of things with this. I love pretty much what everybody else has said about it. That said, I think the one thing I I'm not sure I really care for is the texture of the foam. I would almost rather see it in blur motion or something like that. It just, to me, it's just too crisp and too sharp, and it almost looks like something else. And for some reason, it's just it doesn't really complete the image for me as much as I think I would like. The other thing I was thinking as everyone was talking, I just kind of played in my mind was, it would be interesting if this, to make it even more abstract, to where you had even less reference to what it actually is if you flipped it 90 degrees. So the foam was across the bottom, you had the shimmer and everything to the top, and it would look like a nighttime starfield photograph against maybe some mountain range or something like that, some snowy mountains or something like that. It would really abstract it if you sort of flipped it on its side. Might be an interesting way to play with something like that. I love the shimmer light on the sand. It actually gives that faux impression of there being a rise in the surface of the sand. So it's almost like it's going over like a speed bump or a hill or something like that. It's creating that that visual illusion, which I think is kind of nice. Again, I wonder what the color version of this looked like, and whether or not some processing in color would look better, because I have a certain, it's just a personal prejudice on my part for photographing the sea in black and white. To me, the sea should be in color. That's just a personal choice. Other than that, I love the abstract quality of it. I love what Lori said about the photographer did not look for any identifiable seashell or starfish or anything else that would tie this in so much in the sort of cliched sort of way of photographing the subject, that they chose a very unique something that caught their eye, and this is all about light and form. So well done.
Excellent. Great critiques, everyone. Thank you very much. Trace, it's your turn to share your screen and show us what you've brought to the Creation Wars today.
Okay. Give me just 1 second here. And like everyone else, I may be having very slow internet. Okay. All right, you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay. This is my apprentice, Brian Watkins, and Brian is a Maine native, lives in Southern California, married, father of 3, ex-Air Force, and he's a carpenter and an amateur photographer. And one of the really, really cool things that Brian does is he does wet plate collodion process. And he, being a carpenter and being able to use this alternative film process, is a lot of the tools and everything that you use for this can be very expensive. So he takes to building his own. He builds his own cameras in order to be able to do this wet plate process, and it's really, really interesting, some of the stuff he does. He's very heavily he's done landscapes and everything, but he's also very interested in doing portraits now, and so these are some portraits. He also does straight digital photography and the wet plate process when he does his portraits. Okay. These are just some of his images. He has I said this in his critique, that he has an incredible connection with his subjects, that he really is able to bring forth their personalities in their expressions. He does some really beautiful work. And this next image is one that, this is the one that I'm presenting as his hero image for the Creation Wars. This one was done, not that one, excuse me, one right after this. This one he was doing an experiment where he was doing, had someone press their face up against glass and had their hands wrapped around the glass. This is a wet plate process. And so he's kind of playing with the theme of actual wet plate and a glass plate process, just kind of experimenting with that. Okay. This is the hero image. This is the one that I wanted to present. And he had done this on the same day that he had gone out and photographed my Master's Challenge. And the Master's Challenge that I presented to my cohort, the very first one, is to do what I call camera think, where you cover the LCD of the camera so you can't look at the histogram. You have to shoot everything in manual mode, manual focus, like a film camera. Just kind of go back to the days of shooting film where we're basically shooting blind. Learn to use your camera and get away from the camera doing the thinking for us. So that whole series that he did, he felt was kind of a disaster, and he was very frustrated with the whole process, as a lot of my cohort was in that, trying to photograph in the old school way. So he said after he did that, he picked up his camera and his other camera, and he one of the things he loves to do is he likes to photograph with old film lenses on his Olympus camera. So he mounts his manual focus film lenses on his camera, and he'll go out and shoot. So he started shooting his regular way of shooting on the same day that he did these, and created this wonderful series of, it was late afternoon, setting sun, soft focus on the ocean, and he said he came up to this one surfer who was just kind of sitting there, kind of in his own little world, and end of the day, he said a lot of the people around this time that he shot this shot, they were all kind of like looking out at the sea in their own sort of meditation, being very quiet. And that's what this image speaks to me about. I love his choice of processing on this, and the exposure that he captured with it, the beautiful light, the fact that he did a time exposure, and he said this was the only frame that the individual sat there for long enough period of time to be sharp in focus, so that everything else is moving in motion around them, and this person is in their own little world. And one thing I really love about this, if you zoom in, is that little strand of hair that comes down from the front is so surfer-like, and kind of talks about this person being very much in the surfer lifestyle.
Cool.
I guess we're ready.
Trace.
Yep.
So, if you just go for it, Gina.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is awesome, Trace. And that last part where you were talking about is one of my favorite things about the photo, is how the surfer is in such sharp focus, and then the backdrop is this beautiful long exposure of the ocean, and just that beautiful pastel painterly image behind him. And that's pretty incredible to be able to achieve that with the person, and especially not even having spoken to the person to actually do that, but just really capturing that moment. I really like the colors. And again, I'm looking at several monitors, and I'm seeing different colors. The one I'm focused in on mostly is I'm seeing a lot of beautiful pinkish salmon hues that I really like in it. I think the composition is really nice, and again, I was playing a little bit with my zoom tool too, and the only thing I'm thinking is possibly cropping a little bit, just a sliver off the bottom where we do see some of the footsteps on the very bottom of the frame, just a little bit of that. And then it was interesting because everything looks symmetrical, but the top part of the wave line is off a little bit, and my mind just kind of starts to go, it feels a little crooked. So I also cropped down a little bit past that first top break of a wave into that next wave, and it just seemed to tighten it up a little bit more. So it's a really cool image, great surfer image, and I like the feeling of solitude and peacefulness that it brings, and it makes me want to be right there in that space. So really cool image. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laurie, go for it.
Okay. So when I looked at this image, immediately, you're drawn to the surfer, and it looks like the weight of the world is on him. It's just so sad. It makes you want to cry. It's like, at least that's how I feel. It's like it's hopeless. Maybe, the waves aren't big enough and he's depressed that day, I don't know. But just his whole position, kind of hunched over, and I think is really a lovely capture of that particular moment. And I agree with Gina. I was looking at this and I kept feeling like it was maybe the whole image was a little bit offset, maybe a little crooked. but I think that has to do with some of the waves not quite being, horizontal and such. So I agree with her. Maybe cropping just that little top and off the bottom would enhance this image. But I do love the abstract look. I'm seeing a little bit of fringing around the edges, and it may be just on my monitor here that I'm not zoomed in quite enough, but I do see a little bit around the edges.
Yeah, because I zoomed in on this.
Okay.
And it's got some really nice soft edging where it goes. I mean, you don't really see any fringing there, but that I think is part of the process of the time exposure.
Yeah.
Excuse me, are you using your rebuttal time now? I think that comes later, Trace. I think you've got to just
stop me.
Let us talk.
Take off a point. But anyway,
right.
it's
a beautiful. Finish up, Laurie.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I have to say, and I like it. It's nice. It's a nice moment.
Cool. Okay. My thoughts. Very similar along the same lines, although I do love the emptiness, and if you were to chop too much off the top and the bottom, you're going to constrict that down so that it becomes less about that empty space, which I think ties in really nicely with who that person is in that moment. But lighting sublime, I can see now, Trace, while you were mentioning you would have liked to have seen some motion in the waves of Ray's image that I shared, because it's definitely, obviously, part of your image. But theoretically, that means that I'm not threatening you as much. So hopefully, I just love that emptiness. I'll go back to the emptiness because to me, the time of day, that loneliness, there's nothing else around, and just that choice of shutter to get that motion to really enhance that image. In this case, has taken it up another level. So well done.
Thank you.
Okay, so. Now is the rebuttal time. Each of the masters gets 60 seconds to bring up their image. So if we could all screen share again. And we'll start with Trace, and we'll just go back and you can cover off a couple of points, and then we'll wrap this up.
Okay. Here's the interesting thing is I thought the same thing as everybody else did. This is an original photographer's point of view is hitting the rules and did everything hit the mark of the rules as far as everything level. Now, I have photographed the sea and enough to know that when you are photographing from a slight angle, depending on how the waves are coming in, they can look crooked to a slight degree, depending on the angle. So I played with that as far as whether or not straightening that up would do anything, but the horizon line of where the waves are hitting the shore, that's straight. So I don't think that cropping any out would necessarily, I agree with Ollie that I don't think cropping out would add anything to it. Maybe a slight bit from the bottom would be all that I would do, but very, very little.
All right, thank you, Trace. Right, back to Ray's image. I love the comment that you made, Laurie, about sand stars. That's exactly the way I saw it. That beam of light going through as a reflection on the sand is just incredible. The texture brings it up. Yeah, maybe it would be a different image if those waves were moving, but I think the fact that they're not moving does add that sudden depth to the image, where you can suddenly see forward and back and front and left and right and up and down. And without that, it's just a really strange image. And I think his choice of leaving it so close to the edge is what I'm commending in this image here. So thank you. I look forward to lots of threes.
Okay, I'm up. Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, all right. So this one definitely should win. And the reason why is because I can tell you for a fact, as a wildlife photographer, for someone who goes out and photographs these guys almost every weekend, Jenny would get a 3 in my book, absolutely, because she's nailed it. She's nailed it technically. It's superb, beautiful tones, beautiful detail, and it's a really hard thing to do with this area that they're in. Also, she's really captured that nice, moment, that nice emotional kind of thing that's happening there, very quiet moment. And like a couple of you have mentioned, the green lettuce kind of gives that little extra to an otherwise very monotone type of image. But she's just absolutely did a fantastic job, I think, in all when I grade these things and I look and I critique these, she's nailed it in every single category that I would try to judge us on. So I think she did a fantastic job, and I hope you vote for her. She well deserves it. Thank you.
Okay, Gina, on you go.
Okay, yeah, and this is a tough competition tonight. I think we've all brought in some really awesome photos, and I think we all deserve to win this. But what I love about my image tonight that I brought in, as far as, again, a street photographer, similar in the way that, yes, a lot of our photos were brought in tonight, is just really having that eye for that moment. And I think that's what's so great about my photo, too, is capturing that moment and recognizing something special that's happening in front of you, just being able to frame it so beautifully and bring us such joy in the relationship between the character that's on the wall and our subject who's sitting there on her phone. Makes you wonder and think, and I like the joyfulness of the image very much, and he did do a great job with exposures and just recognizing the contrast of lighting and how wonderful the lighting was in this moment. So it's just really fun, and that's what I think is so great about it, and I'm looking for lots of 3s as well tonight.
Cool, thanks for that, Gina. If you guys can all stop screen sharing now, the link to the voting is in the chat window. And while you all go and vote perfectly and we'll have no problems with people getting it wrong, I'll do some sharing for the people at home. So, at the weekend, I guess people may have seen Trey mentioning that he was running a photo walk in London. Can you see my screen that I'm sharing just now?
Yes.
Yes, cool. So yeah, I went along to the photo walk and got some pictures when I was there, so I thought I would share some of them so people could see what went on. This is a part of the crowd. There was more people off to the left here and more to the right. So many people attended that I couldn't even get them in my 17mm lens at this point, so it was a pretty good attendance overall. I think when I sat and counted them earlier on, there was over 215 or so people at the photo walk, which London was not built for that many people trying to get around with tripods, I can tell you that. So some of the bridges were just chaos when people saw an army of photographers coming at them. Don't think they knew quite what to do. And then when you throw buggies in there and all that sort of stuff, it just gets crazy. So here's Trey giving his intro to the crowd there, just explaining to people what the day was about and what we'd be getting up to. There's Trey taking a picture of me as I was taking a picture of him. So a little bit of fun and messing about at the beginning there. And we went round Trafalgar Square, and we were at the Houses of Parliament here. We got pictures of the London Eye, all those sorts of things. Trey just generally speaking to people, giving them tips on how he was creating the image, what made a good image, what might be something that he would thought would be a good image, but then it wasn't worthwhile in the end, and generally just chatting along with people. And one of the great things about it was I think that everyone spent a whole load of time not just taking pictures, but actually talking to each other. And for myself, I spent probably 90% of the time talking and only came away with 2 or 3 pictures of my own that I ended up wanting to go and process just because there was so much time to chat. So this is one of the images that I took standing on one of the bridges looking out over to the London Eye, just as it was getting to, it was around about sunset, but with it being a cloudy day you couldn't really tell that it was, the sun was setting, it was just getting darker, and obviously you can tell by the city lights and things. And then this was my last image of the day, not long after that, looking back towards Parliament and across the bridge there. And this was around the time when it gets dark and 200 people manage to lose each other in the dark and all try and find a random place to congregate. So yeah, that was Trey's London photo walk, and I believe he's thinking about doing one again in about 5 months' time or so in London. So anyone who happens to be there around the summertime, keep an eye out on his website, Stuck in Customs, just so you can see what he's got planned for the next photo walk, because it was a lot of fun and a lot of cool people hanging around and chatting and stuff. So, and you get to go to the pub later on, and who can complain about going to the pub?
There you go.
Hey, excellent photos, Stu. Hey, just so we remind everyone, whose cohort were you in for your first 2 spheres?
Some really crazy guy from New Zealand. I don't know. I can't remember his name.
There's a lot of them from New Zealand.
I'll have to look him up. Hey, now, I have to apologise. I've got to shoot off. I've got a client here. I have done my judging part. Stuart will announce the results and take you guys from here, but I have to shoot off. Clients come first, unfortunately. So thank you to the other masters who've come on today, and I look forward to hearing the result later.
Cool.
Thanks, Ollie. Appreciate all your work.
Catch you guys. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
All
Okay,
right,
now that he's gone, you have to be present to win, right?
Yeah, you have to be present when
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, that's the rule. I think Trace said that in the first one.
Well, I'll tell you
Yeah, I
what,
think so.
you guys fight it out, and while you're doing that, I'll check the vote, and then I'll decide.
Okay.
Well, I really loved all the images we brought in tonight. They're also different and fun. I think that's what the fun of this Creation Wars is just seeing so many different images.
Yeah. And I love hearing the different critiques too, because everybody comes with something different, what they see. And I'll listen to like Trace say something. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So, or Gina, it's just great. So it's fun.
And it's really interesting. What I hear back from my cohort is who watch these things is they get such great insights from other masters in terms of what everyone else sees, somewhat slightly differently, and so they're always getting some really good tips and information on their images.
Yeah.
From this.
I always boost my confidence too when I'm giving a critique and you guys see the same things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, must be doing something right.
Yeah.
But I do agree. The abstract images are always the toughest because how do you judge something that's abstract? That's always a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
especially,
find
especially when they come back. So go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Trace. I was just going to add to that, and the other things that are hard for me to critique in our sessions are panoramics, because we can't really get the full, you'd love to be able to see those images much larger, and we can only see what we can bring up on our screen. So those are always a challenge for me when I'm doing my critiques.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, if there's any way that either if your apprentice is doing the screen share, or if you have a high-res copy of it, if you can, like on the panoramas, like zoom in your program and just sort of scan around it a little bit to check out for details and stuff like that, that's somewhat helpful. But I agree, if we had like all giant screen TVs in a home theater like Jessica has for doing those things, sit back in her home theater, that'd be cool. Big 52-inch, 72-inch monitor, yeah.
All right.
Kind of hard to travel with those.
Very true. We have a result.
Oh boy.
Drum roll.
Thank you, Trace. So the winner by 1 point is the image that Laurie presented.
Yay! Oh, thank you. Finally, yay!
Do you want to bring it back up again so that people
will.
can see it again?
Yeah. Let me go ahead and grab
And
this
just
here.
mention your apprentice's name again.
Yep. Okay. Do you guys have people's choice on this one, by the
Yes,
way?
we'll go to that in a moment.
Okay.
Tiff is gathering that as we speak.
Now, Laurie,
Okay.
is this the same apprentice that when I was on the other time and we had the monkey and gorilla hugging pose? Is this the same photographer?
This is
Okay.
Mm-hmm. This is Jenny Lauren, and she's just an outstanding wildlife photographer. I'm just really proud of her. She's just does wonderful, wonderful work. Lots of patience, you can tell.
Excellent.
That's key.
Well done to Jenny.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah, the moment was an incredible moment that she got.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Okay, Tiff, what have we got for people's choice?
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Or am I still coming through funny?
Still funny, all pixelated, but all good.
Okay. So yeah, it was a tie for People's Choice. Please don't make me choose between them because they're all beautiful images, and everybody on Twitter was saying, how do we decide? So the tie winners were Laurie Ribbon and Trace Aiken.
Wow. All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a very close vote, just by smidge.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, we're running slightly ahead of schedule, so if you guys have anything you want to share of your own work, we'll do that before we finish up and go into the after party. Anyone want to share today?
Actually, Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, I have something to share, but you go ahead first.
My share is not my own work. And let me do a quick screen share of this. And pop over to this. This is a software that I just recently became aware of. It's a alternative to Photoshop. It's in beta right now. I shared it with my cohort, and at least one of my apprentices and I are going to be exploring the beta of this. You can see this?
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
called Affinity Photo, and the beta is available now for free. You can download it, and you can go to, let me see what the URL is. It's affinity.serif, serif.com/blog, and they have a video and some tutorials on the state of the software right now, and even at this stage in beta, it is looking really awesome as an alternative to Photoshop. And from what I hear, I believe the price when it will come out will be about $49. It is Mac only, so that only leaves out like 3 people in the world who aren't on Macs. But everybody go get Mac. Anyway. It's really looking like an awesome alternative to Photoshop. It's laid out very similar to it. I don't think the learning curve will be much different if you really know Photoshop, but it's something that I'm going to be exploring very heavily. So it's Affinity Photo. Check it out.
Can you share, Trace, what, in your opinion right now, does it have that Photoshop doesn't, or what are some of the things that you like about it?
What I'm seeing, and again, I've only just opened it a few times and experimented with some of the features to it. Is, I mean, it has the full workflow with layers. It runs. What it's touting itself as and one of my complaints about Photoshop is written on more than 25-year-old legacy software code that is still in it, which makes it sort of an 800-pound gorilla. And most of the time with Photoshop, most of us probably use less than 10% of what is capable in the program. So it's a huge, program to have to, wade through. This one here is running nimbler, smoother, faster than a lot of the features on Photoshop, depending on your computer configuration. It has a really cool tool for adding light to an image. So you can, it's just a really cool way of doing that. You can do warping, and just if you check out the website and see their videos on what can be done with it, it's really amazing, and it's fast too. So, and like I said, right now it's only in beta. They just released, I think today, they released beta 2. So I just downloaded it before I got on tonight, and I haven't been able to use it yet to see what new things are in it. But it's kind of exciting, and the fact that it's $49, I'm sold.
Thanks for that.
One-time fee?
Yeah, yeah, and again, like anything else, screen share for a second. Yeah, it's not a subscription program the way Photoshop, and again, don't get me started on Photoshop's subscription plan.
Yeah.
It's why I stopped at Photoshop 6, and I didn't want to go any further with that, and there's just too many other alternatives for me. So yeah, it's a one-time $49 to start, and then of course I'm sure when they get to version 2, version 3, I don't know what their upgrade thing is going to be that way, but it's definitely worth checking out.
Cool.
Awesome. Anyone else want to share?
I'll share. So let's see here. Let me switch over here, and here it is. Okay. So some of you know that I'm really into the DJI quadcopters. In fact, this month, February, is Female Flyers Month for DJI. So they picked 5 of us women to go up to Hollywood and do some interviews with them. And so anyway, that was really fun. And so on Instagram, they're kind of promoting each of us. So what I'm showing you here is Sky Pixel, but I want to show you there's really special when you're shooting from above, you get these different things that you may not have noticed before. So there's one particular image I want to show you. I'm going to go over to Google Plus because it actually shows it off a little bit better. Do you see this? We were doing a photo shoot for a children's photographer here in San Diego, and I work for MacFun, and so we were doing it's kind of like a little ad thing where she was photographing the kids on the beach. We had balloons, and I was flying overhead, and I pointed down. This particular model, you can point straight down. And I saw I love my mom. I didn't notice it when I took the picture, and I didn't even notice when I was standing on the ground. But looking down, it captured it. And Erica Thornes, this is her group of kids. She says it's her favorite photo ever because it was just this impromptu thing that her daughter had written in the sand. So it's just magical. These new things that we're discovering that we can take photos of. It's like opening up a brand new world. Like when you first discovered that macro photo, macro lens, you stick it on your camera, and it's like this whole new world underneath your feet. And so this is just giving us a brand new perspective and trying out new and fun things. So I'm just totally excited about it. So I just wanted to share that.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Laurie. That's a really cool picture.
Sure. Thank you.
That is cool.
And Laura, one of the things that's kind of cool with that perspective is I'm sure you can probably get into some really amazing abstract landscape images.
Yes, you can. Yeah, absolutely. The textures and it's amazing. Yeah, really fun.
Cool. Gino, do you have anything you want to share today?
Well, I didn't have anything personally for myself, and I just was going to quickly, if it'll work. Yes, now it works. Because I felt like I didn't get to really quickly share my Apprentice, so I'm just going to do a quick 2-minute thingy here on his site that I wanted to show everybody, and it's kind of, I think, a nice example of what can be done on SmugMug. And I know most people probably who are involved with the Arcanum and Creation Wars know SmugMug, but for those who don't and want to create their own portfolios, just another reminder that it's a really nice portfolio system, and I think Heath did a really good job of putting his together. It's really well organized. As you can see, he's got his each set is got some nice different. It's probably not coming up on a lot of them, but you can see here for under landscapes, he's got some different areas. And you really get to design this whole thing yourself, and just letting it scroll for a second just to see what other kinds of work that Heath did, because I think he does really nice work, and just thought I'd share that since I had a second. We didn't get to give him that opportunity before.
It's so different from the image that you
Gina.
shared with us.
Yeah.
It's very different.
It is. It's very different. Like I said, this is typical of what he's been doing, but he's just now starting to get more into his street work, and I think he does such a nice job of it. I'm trying to see if what he's got, as you can see here, here's some of it, which is completely different. So I think he's a really well-rounded photographer, and it's really fun to, especially since he's in Tokyo and he's an American, and he just can see things from a different perspective. And I'm always amazed with some of the street photography, how you can shoot a shot of somebody looking right at you, like this one here, and I always think, did he have to talk to her afterwards and say, do you mind if I use just your image or what, or if he just shoots it and then runs off?
Smile and run.
Yeah.
Very cool. Tiff, do you have anything you want to share today?
No, I am completely unorganized on that front.
That's fine. We'll get you to share next week once you've recovered from being away for so long.
No worries, thanks.
And seeing as we're just about to tip over into the next hour, I think that's a good time to bring this to a close. knowing that it was 1 hour was the aim, and we've achieved that, we can all be happy and party in the after party. So thanks you guys for joining, and thanks everyone for watching. And I'll end the main broadcast here. We'll cut it up later on, and for now we'll go into the after show and have some more chat. So thanks everyone.
Cool. Thanks, Stuart.
Bye.